Hey, welcome to Sports and Politics with T. I'm your host, Tanya, and tonight we have made it back to Thursday, guys. I hope everyone has had a great week so far, because guess what? Tomorrow is Friday again. And guess what, guys? It is also Easter weekend. Listen. I hope everybody's got some plans, and if not, and you just want to relax, hey, that's all right too, okay? I know this coming weekend, my family is going to be coming down. I have my sister coming on Saturday, spending some time together, and then she'll be with my other sister tomorrow, and then Sunday we're all going to get together and have a good Easter dinner together, as well as go to church and service and all that good stuff. So it's going to be a great weekend. It's going to be a very nice weekend. I think it's going to be around 80, maybe 80, 82 degrees. So fairly hot. No rain in the forecast, which is great. But anyway, guys, again, I hope everybody's had a great week. Tonight, we are going to talk about the economy and what the polls are showing. And later in this video, we're also going to talk about Michelle Obama's podcast, because guess what? I've been looking at some other shows, and it's really, really good. One of the key people that she had on her show just the other day was Tracy Ellis Ross. And this was a very interesting interview. Okay, but let's get with the economy first, and then we're going to tackle what I feel as far as what the American people are feeling right about now. This is a CNN segment, and they're just going to talk about the polls and how things are going so far and what the percentage of Americans are feeling based on last year's numbers. So let's go ahead and get started, and then we'll tackle this video once it's over.
About President Trump and his economic policy now 12 weeks into his second term. CNN chief data analyst Harry Inton is here to run the numbers. Hello, Harry. Happy Sunday to you.
You as well.
Okay, so where are we with Americans and how they're viewing the economy?
Yeah, so CBS News YouGov poll came out earlier today, and I will just say, I'll put it in stark terms, I believe this is the worst poll that Donald Trump has received in his second term, and we can go through it, Jessica. Let's talk about the economy, right? Think the economy is getting worse. Back in November, it was 42% of Americans. You don't have to be a genius to follow this timeline. By February, it was 49%, March, 51%. Look at where we are now, 53%. The clear majority of Americans think the economy is getting worse, and that number is rising. When Trump, of course, won that second term, it was 42%. Now we're up 11 points. The clear majority, 53%. This poll and this number in particular is no bueno for the President of the United States, Jessica.
And who are they blaming for what they are seeing as an economic downturn?
Yeah, okay. So, obviously, you had Joe Biden before you had Donald Trump. And, of course, Donald Trump would say, you know, Joe Biden left us in a horrible state and I have to help dig us out of it. All right, so let's take a look here. More responsible for the state of the economy or the economic state. In March, CBS News asked about inflation, and 38% said it was Joe Biden who was more responsible, compared to 34% who said Donald Trump. Let's jump forward to now, in the month of April. Look at this number, 54% of Americans say that Donald Trump is more to blame for the state of the economy than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's number has fallen from 38% to 21%. Donald Trump may try to blame Joe Biden for this, and maybe that was working a month ago in the month of March. But since the tariff war has begun, it's not working anymore. Americans are not buying what Donald Trump is selling them. They believe, the clear majority, 54%, that Donald Trump is more to blame for the state of the economy at this point than Joe Biden is, Jessica.
That is interesting to see how that evolves just in the last month, really.
Yeah.
How are they viewing tariffs?
Yeah. Okay. So obviously the big thing when it comes to the state of the economy right now for Donald Trump is tariffs. So let's take a look here. All right. The tariff plan, new tariffs on importing goods, opposed versus favor. You go back to January. Look at this. 48% said they favored these new tariffs, these Donald Trump tariffs, compared to 46% who opposed. Look at where we are now in the CBS News YouGov poll. A switcheroo, Jessica, a switcheroo. The clear majority, 58% of Americans oppose these new tariffs, compared to just 42% who favor him. Again, this is part of the picture that we've seen throughout this presentation, right, Jessica? More and more people are turning against Donald Trump. Their views of the economy are getting worse. They are holding Donald Trump responsible. And when it comes to his signature issue, so far in his second term, tariffs, I mean, my goodness gracious, that trend line is ridiculously awful for Trump. The opposition number from 46 to 58 and the favor from 48 to 42. Americans have switched on a dime on the economy, on Donald Trump, in large part because of the tariffs, which they increasingly do not like.
And what's the biggest problem with Trump's plan for these people?
Well, I think it's the biggest problem that you hear our analysts say all the time is they don't know what the heck Donald Trump is doing. It's his approach. I mean, take a look here. Trump's approach to tariffs and trade, that is the way he's going about it. Just 37% of Americans like it. Look at this number. 63%, nearly 2/3 dislike it. Among independents, Jessica, it's just 28% of independents who like the way that Donald Trump is approaching tariffs and trade. And that's not much of a surprise because one day Donald Trump is saying one thing, the next day he's saying another. One day someone from his administration saying one thing, the next day that same exact person saying another. The message, simply put, is unclear. And it's the approach more than anything else, Jessica Dean, that the folks in the American public dislike about Donald Trump and his way that he's going about the tariffs and trade policy of the second Trump administration.
Very interesting. And then overall, how does this affect his approval rating?
Yeah, okay, so we talk about the economy, right? But does the economy, the way people feel about the economy, equal the way they feel about Donald Trump overall? Because if it doesn't, if these two paths don't cross, then these numbers don't mean anything.
Right.
But let's take a look right here. Donald Trump's net approval rating. In early February, according to CBS News, look at that, it was +6. Late February, +2. March, 0, even approval, disapproval. Look at where we are now, -6 points. He's underwater for the first time in the CBS News YouGov poll, at least in his second term. Again, it's the trend line that's so important here, and the trend line and the American people are turning against Donald Trump. And that's why I said at the beginning, Jessica, that this, in my mind, is the worst poll that Trump has received in his second term so far.
All right, Harry Inton, as always, with the numbers there. Thank you so much.
So this week begins with the country and the global economy caught in the grip of uncertainty. If that sounds familiar, it is, since that has clearly become the status quo over the past weeks. Head-spinning uncertainty stemming from President Trump's rollout of his tariff plan. U.S. stock futures, they are on the rise this morning, now after the Trump administration carved out exemptions from the president's reciprocal tariffs on key consumer electronics like smartphones and computers. But that is where the latest round of uncertainty comes in. Exemptions announced Friday night were declared not exemptions at all come Sunday morning. And then by Sunday night, the president himself declared the need for flexibility, saying more targeted tariffs on the semiconductor industry are.
Let me just chime in for just a second because, like I said a couple months ago, a lot of people understand what he's trying to do, but it's his approach on how he's doing it. You know, the tariffs, I think what's hurting him is he's actually tariffing allies, you know, and because these people, you know, they're supposed to be helping us and we're penalizing them too, along with China, Mexico, and Canada. And I feel like why penalize people that, number one, they're smaller, so you know they don't have the necessary support that we do and China does. And then you're going to make their economy even worse. You know, they don't have that type of leverage that we do. You know, they're depending on us, you know. So that's why I was kind of like, that's just, you know, I feel like we're hurting our friends at the same time as our enemies. And then he's putting tariffs on China, but China is reciprocating the tariffs right back. So it's almost like, that's why they keep saying this is a trade war, because he's thinking that they're going to like cave in or give in, and they're not doing that. Meanwhile, the prices of products and services are starting to go like this. And guess who's going to be, going to have to pay for that? It's the American people. And that's why you see the poll numbers the way they are, is like, you know, people were optimistic. They had that, and maybe there are a few more that might be still optimistic, but from what I see now, you know, the stock market is still not where it needs to be. And trust me, this is not an overnight fix. We totally understand that. But at the rate that he's going, especially if these countries are not, if they're just reciprocating right back the tariffs that we're doing, it's going to hurt us. It's definitely going to hurt us in the long run. But let's keep going.